Hey everybody, welcome to Tip of the Spear Ministries. I'm Pastor Brandon. As always, we want to bring the events that are happening in the world from a biblical perspective and also a prophetic perspective. And so anyway, what we want to tackle today is what's going on in Southern California, which is these crazy wildfires that they still to this day that I'm making this video are not under control. It's turned into a wildfire storm in Southern California. And the bottom line behind all of this is a pagan worldview that has caused this. Yes, there's been 100-mile-an-hour gusts of wind and things of that nature that people can't control, but there are aspects to this fire that could have been controlled, maintained, dealt with, but because of our leaders here in California and their pagan worldview, it has gotten out of control. And it's basically decimated people's homes. About 100,000 people have been evacuated. Tens of thousands of acres have been burned. Thousands of buildings have reduced to ash. And we know at this point at least 5 lives have been lost. And it's unnecessary. It didn't need to happen. Yes, we have fires all the time in California. It's a very dry state. It doesn't rain here. Most of the state is a desert climate, okay? But we have pagan mindsets in our leadership, like Gavin Newsom.
Listen to this woman confront Governor Newsom.
Governor, I live here, Governor. That was my daughter's school, Governor. Please tell me what you're going to do. I'm not going to hurt him, I promise.
I'm literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your call? Because I don't believe it.
I'm sorry. There's literally, I've tried 5 times. That's why I'm walking around to make the call.
Why is the president not taking your call?
Because it's not going through. So
Why?
I have to get cell service.
So let's get it. Let's get it. I want to be here when you call the president.
I appreciate it. I'm doing that right now.
Everyone who went to school there, they lost their homes. They lost 2 homes because they were living in one and building another. Why was there no water in the hydrants, Governor?
That's all literally.
Is it going to be different next time?
It has to be. Has to be. Of course.
Did you hear at the beginning of that soundbite, he said, I'm literally talking to the president right now.
He lied.
He just told
lied.
that woman. That woman is talking about that's her kid's school. They've lost everything at the school. The school is gone. And she is in distress. And what does he do? He lies to her.
Just flat out lies.
How many people has he lied to this week?
He lies all the time.
The leadership of California is responsible for these fires getting out of control. And you have people like Bernie Sanders that try to rewrite the narrative, and you have the alphabet news media trying to rewrite the narrative, saying this is because of global warming. Hey, Bernie Sanders, it's not because of global warming. I've lived in California all my life. Qualifornia doesn't get rain. He says, it hasn't rained there in 8 months. Of course it doesn't rain in California. It never does. It never rains. Bernie, quit trying to change the narrative. The problem is our leaders do not know how to control the environment. They don't know how to handle water. They don't know how to handle leadership because they're pagans. And they think like pagans. That's the problem. Well, what do you mean by that? Well, the Bible explains to all of us how to interact with our environment. It's mankind's relationship to his environment. And in that relationship, man is the highest in creation. Okay? Creation is not on par with man. But in paganism, the rock, the tree, the wind, the air, the sky, the water is the same as man. Man is the same. It's pantheism or pagan-intheism in paganism. And so what ends up happening in these leaders' policies is they see no difference between a human and a forest. But as Genesis 1:26 and 27 says, then God said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the air and over the cattle, over all the earth and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. And verse 27 says, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. So the idea, first of all, in a biblical mindset, is human beings are at the top of the priority in the creation. you must then, as a leader, create policies and laws that go into effect that put mankind ahead of everything else, ahead of forests, ahead of the trees, ahead of the animals. Mankind must be your first priority because man is the only one made in God's image. Mankind is an image bearer, and everything will fall from that. Does that mean we ignore taking care of animals, ignore taking care of the forest, ignore taking care of the... Not at all. It doesn't mean that. It just means in all my policies, in all my legislation, mankind must come first. But in these fires, as you can see, man has not been put first. What has been put first is the environment. The creation has been put first. How so? Because it has been left to just go out of control. They do not clean up the environment. They let the forests continue to pile up with tinder and old wood, dead wood, pine needles, and it just continues to accumulate and accumulate and accumulate instead of mankind going in there and cleaning that forest out, getting rid of the dead trees, getting rid of the tinder box that the forest creates. And because pagans just let nature run wild, a spark can come from a lightning strike, a spark can come from a car, a spark can come from wherever. Someone threw out a cigarette or something, who knows? And then it lights the whole thing on fire and it gets out of control. That's what's happening here. And what we see from the scriptures is man is to control nature. In Genesis 2:15, then the Lord took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to tend and keep it. And those two words, tend and keep it, that's what he's supposed to do to the garden. He is not to allow the garden to go out of control. He is to go in there and trim the bushes, prune the trees, take out the dead wood. He is to keep the garden pristine and not let it go crazy. Man is to follow his creator who brings order out of chaos. And if you let nature go, it will go into chaos. So man is to tend and keep it by keeping order to it. This is why periodically you have to clean your backyard, or you have to clean your front yard, or you have to clean the inside of your house. When you look at people's homes, when they don't clean their yards and they don't clean their backyard and their yard looks like a mess, it is because they don't know how to tend the garden. And that's a fundamental issue about how to relate to your environment. So what has happened in California is we have not tended the garden. We have not taken out the dead wood. We have not cleaned up the forests. We have not done what we needed to do to protect from these fires from getting out of control. One more thing. Man had dominion over creation. That's what God gave man. Genesis 1:26, like I'll reiterate it, let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, over the cattle, over the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. So man has rulership over creation. And that word dominion in Hebrew is radah, and it means to prevail against, to subjugate. And basically the idea is man is to be over creation and harness the natural resources of the environment to make it benefit mankind, okay? That's what he's supposed to do. That's what dominion is. Dominion doesn't mean I let the whole world go to pot. Dominion means I take what the earth has given me and I harness it to work for man, whether that's drilling for oil, drilling for natural gas, that gives us energy, right? Cheap energy, which they want to reduce and stop. Whether that's controlled hunting and making sure the populations of certain animals don't get out of control, and all that stuff plays into this, that mankind is to do this. So let's talk about dominion over water, because in California, water is the main issue. So California, because of its pagan mindset and the people running California, it won't save its water. Okay, we're to have dominion over the water, okay, and of the fish of the sea. So County officials refuse to refill the reservoirs during last year's record rainfalls. And this happens every year it rains. When we do get rain, they don't refill the reservoirs. And so what happens is all of the water in the San Joaquin Delta in Northern California, which provides most of the water here in our state, 95% of that rainwater or the snowpack that comes from the mountains is redirected to the Pacific Ocean to do what? To save the Delta smelt. And what is the Delta smelt? A non-indigenous 2-inch fish, not native to California. And so we dump out 95% of the water that we get from rain and storms and snowpack into the Pacific Ocean. So guess what? That's pagan. And in this pagan mindset, they use the leftover 5% and then they chop that up. That 5% of water that they do retain, 40% goes to ag, which is fine, but they have plenty of water they should have, and store instead of going into the ocean. So they restrict even agriculture. Agriculture doesn't have all the water they need. Then 10% of that 5% goes to human use, like to drink, their faucets, the showers, water their lawn. And then another 50% of the 5% is used for restoring the environment. That right there shows you that they do not see man as superior to creation. But in fact, what these stats show about the water shows they see man as inferior to the Delta smelt. They see agriculture, which produces food, inferior to the Delta smelt. And that's why you would allow 95% of your water to go into the Pacific Ocean, is because that is pagan. That is an unbiblical mindset. And so these creation worshipers have created the problem. What do you mean? Well, guess what? LA, fighting these fires, doesn't have enough water to fight the fires. They hook up to the fire hydrants and there's no water. And so we have scenes now where the firemen are carrying ladies' purses, filling them up with water, and throwing them on a fire. That's what we have come to. That's how insane these pagans are. So we don't have water. So you have to have water to fight fires, and there's no water available. And so these fires are just going out of control. It's crazy. And the state in California has flushed water from the dams out to the sea to maintain its flow levels rather than providing its farmers water. And so we're having a farming problem. So they're telling these farmers, well, you can only have so much water and you're gonna let your fields go fallow, a certain percentage of them, maybe 30% go fallow. Well, wait a second. What if I have trees? What if I have almonds? What if I have pistachios? What if I have grapes? What if I have, vines and fruit trees and stuff? I can't just not water them. I'll lose the trees. And California says, we don't care. We're saving the environment. Here's the thing. You may be listening to this and you're not in California and you say, that's why I don't live there and that's why I moved out. But let me tell you something. The mentality of a pagan is spreading everywhere. This whole saving the planet thing is going to wind up in every state, in every country, if it's not already there already. And what you see happening in California, you'll see it in other states, and you'll see it in other countries. And it may not be dealing with fire, it might be dealing with cold weather, like in Europe, where they make them not have enough energy because they're saving the planet. So they cut themselves off from gas and oil, and they're dependent on high energy costs. And so these people are either in Europe figuring out, do I pay my electric bill to heat my home, or do I buy food? So the paganism is going to come to you in some form or fashion, but the principles remain the same. It may not be fire, but it'll be something else, where the creation is put above the image bearers. That's how it works. And by the way, California doesn't want to change. They've had 45 years to construct new reservoirs, and they don't do it. Okay? So they're telling you, We don't care about human beings. We don't care if people lose their homes. Okay? We don't care. And Trump, of course, and God bless him, came out and said, this is ridiculous. Gavin Newsom's just running this state into the ground, and I'm paraphrasing what he said. But Newsom, according to Trump, refused to sign the water restoration declaration that would allow the millions of gallons of water from that snowpack and rain and from Northern California to come to California. And Newsom didn't want to do it. Why? Because he'd rather save the planet. He'd rather save the Delta smelt rather than human beings. And this is where you go. By the way, back to this water issue about the fire hydrants that went dry, okay, that these firemen are hooking up to. California voters approved a $7.5 billion water bond back in 2014, by the way. And yet the state has been slow to move on this project. They haven't done anything really with it. And yet the state voted for this. But they're slow walking this. They're not doing it. And this is going back to 2014. Why do you think they're slow walking it? It's all pagan. Save the planet. And by the way, the Los Angeles County official who is responsible for overseeing the fire hydrant maintenance in LA, Janice Quinones, do you know how much she makes? She makes $750,000 annually to oversee the fire hydrant maintenance. Well, guess what? She apparently doesn't do her job because the fire hydrants had no water. Why is LA County paying an individual $750,000 who completely failed in this crisis? Okay? Let's go to the Los Angeles Fire Chief, Kristen Crowley. How does she spend her time? Well, she's a DEI hire, no doubt, because she's openly lesbian, okay? So she spent her time celebrating her openness of being the first openly gay and female leader of the fire department there in LA, and has basically spent her tenure working on DEI initiatives than being ready for a fire or prepared. And it's not like these fires come every once in 100 years. These fires happen in California every year. But she's more worried about DEI and parading around her lesbianism, okay? That's what she's on. Under her leadership, millions of taxpayer dollars were funded into creating DEI Bureau within the Los Angeles Fire Department. Yes, and that included programs aimed at recruiting more women and LGBTQ firefighters, even though the department faced a $17.6 million budget cut in 2024. So with her pagan worldview, she would rather prioritize diversity over competence in a field, as you know, that requires immense physical strength. That physical strength is a priority and typically is done by males. But she would rather spend her time on whether we hire a transgender who paints his nails as a fireman. That's what she would rather work under. This is pagan, okay? Requiring, quotas instead of competence or physical strength is not going to do it. When a disaster comes, whether it's a hurricane, whether it's an earthquake, whether it's a fire, whether it's a tornado, whatever, if you're worried about DEI rather than being competent, you're going to fail. Just like FEMA failed, right, in North Carolina. LA Mayor Karen Bass is another one of these pagan mindset people. She cut the fire budget nearly $20 million, which has severely limited the department's ability to respond on these large-scale emergencies, okay? She goes to Africa, and someone said that she was doing it as far as her job as a mayor. I don't know why you would need to go to Africa if you're a mayor. She comes back, and the reporters catch her at LAX and are asking her all kinds of questions. Why are you in Africa while your city is burning? And this woman, this mayor, stood there for nearly 2 minutes and stared blankly in space and wouldn't answer anybody's questions Because you know why? They don't have any answers. They are failures. Every person that worships the planet can't manage the planet. If you have a pagan mindset, you have no answers. And here's the thing, going back to the forests, the dead trees, the underbrush, California's not gonna fix it. They would rather have the environment just go rogue, have it go cluttered, have it go chaotic, and anything can spark that, right? But here's another thing. California is the leading state of homelessness, okay? And it's on purpose. The reason we have so much homelessness is because the state gives the cities money for the head count of every homeless person they have. So it's a money game. That's why we have so much homeless, okay? You can easily stop the homeless problem if you made it illegal and you stop giving the cities monies for having homeless. The cities would clean up the problem. But as long as they're getting money from the state to have homeless people on the street, they're not gonna clean it up. Anyway, here's the interesting thing. Homeless people cause the majority of fires. I mean, they go to the bathroom in the streets and we know that, but they set the majority of fires. LA County, 54% of LA County's fires, that's the majority, are caused by homeless people. In fact, LA County has 24 fires a day set by homeless people. But they're not going to stop it. They think they're being compassionate by letting the homeless people burn down things. And they do it because they're stoking up fires and whatnot. But that's insane. That's a pagan mindset, right? We're going to have homeless people start fires 24 times a day in LA. Unbelievable. And what has this caused? This pagan mindset? It's caused a financial disaster. Most Californians don't have fire insurance. Do you know why? Because the insurance companies have reduced their footprint in California because California decided to cap how high premiums of insurance companies could go up. So the insurance companies left California and wouldn't insure people in California. This includes Liberty Mutual, Tokyo Marine America Insurance Company, and the Trans-Pacific Insurance. They have all left California. Safeco, Farmers Insurance, Allstate is no longer selling policies. State Farm is no longer selling policies. So when you start looking at this from a business standpoint, anything pagans do, they hurt others, not only with fires or tornadoes or hurricanes and people losing their homes, they hurt people because you can't get insurance. So all these people who don't have fire insurance are not going to get reimbursed for their homes. Just like the people in Maui. They're not going to get reimbursed for their homes because there's no insurance that would cover them. And this is because of California's Save the Planet policies and socialistic economic policies. Well, we want to put a cap on premiums. Well, you do that, the companies leave. So now we don't have insurance. This is pagan, okay? And what you have to understand is paganism makes you stupid. Paganism makes you totally incompetent. Paganism makes you misprioritize that which is valuable. Paganism makes you think you're caring when you're not. Makes you think you're compassionate and loving when you're not. Paganism puts inanimate objects like creation ahead of human beings who are made in the image of God. Paganism lets creation grow wild instead of tending the garden. Paganism makes you allow creation to get out of your control instead of bringing order to it and harnessing the natural resources. Paganism gives you a worldview of reality that really doesn't care about people. They care about money. They care about their special interest groups and that they get the money, but they really don't care about people. They bully, and they practice the most corrupt morals one could possibly practice. Paganism teaches entitlement. And people like Gavin Newsom and the mayor of LA, Bass, think they're entitled to rule California. And the majority of Californians also vote them in office, also have a pagan worldview as well. They are ignorant enough to hand these people over the keys to the state and make them and crown them kings and queens of their pagan paradise. And they give them power. They're the ones who vote them in. Paganism doesn't care about your food. It cares about the little fish. It doesn't value life. It's a culture of death and destruction. That's who California is ran by and is continuing to be run by. And here's the thing. If we who know the Bible don't respond to this pagan worldview, right, and push back on this it starts with our family, it starts with our neighbors. When you see your neighbors saying they believe in global warming, you have to correct that. You're going to do that in a gentle, respectful way, but you can't let that go undone because too many people buy into this. Too many Californians buy into what Gavin Newsom is saying. They want to save the planet. They want to save the Delta smelt, not knowing the difference. But if we continue to let these pagans let loose their worldview, you're going to see all these natural disasters become just totally out of control, and even man-made disasters will happen, and they won't be able to control it. You will have more North Carolinas, you'll have more Palestine, Pennsylvanias happening, and you will have more California wildfires. You will have all of that continue, and the incompetence of these pagans will shine through. This is where you and I come in. We need to be the light in the darkness. That paganism doesn't work. The biblical model is the only model that works in reality, that puts humans as the priority. If you and I were in charge, the 95% of that water that's going into the ocean, that 95% of the water would be redirected to the people of California. And there wouldn't be any fire hydrants without any water. That's the difference. Would there be fires? Yes, but they would be containable. We wouldn't have a forest light up like a tinderbox and get out of control. We would be able to manage this and get control of this because lightning strikes happen and forests catch on fire. That's just a natural process. But if you would clean the forest, it wouldn't be as bad. That's the difference. And so that's our job. And that's why I want to impress on you, confront this pagan mentality about creation. Help them understand that humans come first. And if you could just get them to see that humans come first, everything falls in order at that point. If people could just understand that. But when you elevate creation above humans or on par with humans, you get California, you get Europe, you get all these going green places that will not only destroy people's lives, but destroy the economy as well. So let's do our job to be salt and light and bring a biblical worldview to this world. Hey, with that being said, make sure you like and subscribe and share these videos with other people. Refer people to Tip of the Spear Ministries, and all our information's on there. Continue to pray for us as we constantly are having to deal with spiritual attacks on every front, whether it's I'm dealing with Rock Harbor or if I'm dealing with Tip of the Spear. It's just a constant battle, so pray for us. And if the Lord puts it on your heart to help us financially, you can give a tax-deductible gift to Tip of the Spear Ministries, and that would go to help us continue to get the word out to this world. Anyway, gotta go. But remember what the Lord said, when you see all these things begin to happen, like pagans mishandling fires, lift up your head, look up, for your redemption draws near. God bless you. We'll see you next time.